Nice. All right. Forge gang. I am still a hard man. Let's go. Alrighty then. Not barbarians, but ancient civilizations. Civilizations of renown, civilizations of old, of the former past, of an old forgotten age that is only remembered in myth and legends. I am your host, Imperator Forge. I hope you're having a good day. But, I really do miss the 90s and the early 2000s. I really do miss that time period because it just seemed that everything was more stable. Even if perhaps it wasn't, and it was more of a state of flux than I actually would like to remember it, I just remember it as very nice and, yeah, I miss that time period. And I feel very outdated. I feel out of touch with time. I'm very much out of touch with the times. But yeah, if you are a hard man like I am, if you are a fellow hard man, you will understand and relate to my millennial woes. And I don't mean millennial woes, that cringe streamer from Scotland, but just I feel out of place and out of time. And everything is going woke. I don't think that the right has won or triumphed in any way. In fact, I think that the right has appropriated and adopted the very things that the left was trying to do and failed. So now it's being turned into a right proposition, or a rightward proposition at any rate. And so we're going in the wrong direction, folks. We're going in the wrong direction here. Everything is going woke and broke. And is just, yeah, systemically speaking, things are going the wrong way. And I don't see nothing improving or getting any better in this century. It is just more of the same thing. It is just being presented under a different coat of paint. And that's all that needs to be said about it. But yeah, I would like to go back to the 90s or the early 2000s. I think things were better. It was a better time. It was more simpler and just more archaic and just better overall. Metal bands were still the thing. Boy bands were still a thing. Rap and hip hop was also cool as well, but it was just better. Um, I wish I had like some old newspapers or something where I could just read through that decade and just kind of marvel and also remember and reminisce about better times. A better time period and just better things overall. But yeah, I have to fight back against cultural genocide. I'm fighting back against. This is a culture war. This is a war of culture, a war of biology and anthropology and perennialism. And I'm fighting a perennialist war for the preservation of my culture, what I have, what I inherited from my ancestors, and keeping that fleeting memory going. Just keeping that memory going. Milk Cow says, hello, Mr. Warhammer. Yeah, how are you doing, Milk Cow? What's up? But, yeah. Some of these, weirdos that are close to Euros, Kino Corner, are basically promoting cultural genocide against my people, the real standard bearers of Western civilization, which I'm trying to fight to preserve day and night as best as I can, and just these people that think that Western society operates in a lineal, unbound way towards progression, with this human secularism or humanism, where they want to divorce Western culture from the classics and from Christianity, and try to push it down a progressive narrative. In reality, they are destroying culture, destroying history, and destroying the things that made the West great to begin with. You know, the Greeks were the fountain pen of Western culture. They made it. They made it great and awesome. And Hellenism actually created something inherently good in the world. The Italians did even better. The Italians, who were the Romans, because Italians are Romans, and the descendants of the Romans were the Latins, who are Italians, you know, they created the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic before that, and the reign of the Caesars, and the church. The Catholic Church was built by the Italians. Yes, the Eastern Mediterranean was very important for the early church, but at least for the Middle Ages, the popes all resided in Rome, Italy. So Italy was very important for the Renaissance and for so much of Western culture. And the Spanish brought it to the New World, or they were the first to bring it to the New World. The French were very important as well. They were Gauls, the French were Gallic, or Gauls, and Romans, and they further built and advanced with the Franks the tapestry of the Western culture in Western Europe. Then you have the Germans, and the Germans were very important. The Germans and the Flemish were very important for persevering medieval culture, knights and troubadours and all of that stuff with the Holy Roman Empire, the First Reich. Then if you go further north, the English were very important and central because they started the Industrial Revolution and they invented most of the things of the modern world. The English and the Scots both. They brought Western civilization to the far ends of the globe. And the Welsh and the Scots did a lot too. The Scots were the Caledonians and the Scotti and the Picts and all of that. And the Welsh were Celts, or a Celtic refuge. So the Celts and the Germanics developed even further Western culture. And then the Danes and the Norwegians and the Swedes, the Vikings, they propagated and expanded a vast dominion. And they spread civilization through the Nordic world. So, anyone that tells me that I'm not a European is a liar and a vagabond. And they have no sense of culture or no sense of rhyme and reason, because the United States is a European settler society. And America just simply spread and further advanced what the Europeans started. So, not a barbarian, but an ancient civilization, an ancient culture, a medieval culture, and a modern culture. And the importance is to retain a high culture. That is what separates me from most. So long as I have a high culture, and a bright light that is from that culture, I will never be overcome. No, anybody that follows that, what I do, will not be overcome by barbarism. So, in fact, I am actually anti barbarian. I am actually promoting the light and the glory of civilization through my very biology. And what really broke Western civilization was when Americans and Europeans started to turn against each other. And they had outside forces side with them because Francis Parker Yockey and Ezra Pound talked about this. They talked about the Western Civil War, or the war within Western civilization against the true tenets and the fundamentals of what made the West better than the rest. And that was turned against Europe and America and used to weaken and break America with this outside alien forces that broke it. The gatekeepers opened the doors, the castle drawbridge and the doors to the outsiders, to the outside forces that weakened and ruined and corrupted the Western culture and broke it the last 100 years. So that's in fact the thing I'm trying to fight against. So actually, modernity is bad. Everything about the modern world and about modern culture is inherently evil. So everything about modern culture, and especially postmodern culture, is evil to me. And the past is good and the present is bad. That's how I think of it. I see the present world as inherently corrupt, evil, and demonic, and prone to the forces of Satan, and prone to the forces of deviancy and evil and backwardness. And I see the past as superior. I see the past as wholly good, very great and wonderful, and a vastly superior thing to the present. So I have no hope for the future. I have no hope for anything that comes after me. Everything I see now and afterwards is just bad. So I'm kind of like Gildas and Jordanes in that regard. I see the past as the better age, and the future has the worst, lowest common denominator. Everything about the present and the future is of the lowest denominator and is inherently evil and wrong. And it's actually looking back to the past that is actually better. It is the best thing that you could do. So, I would say that I was born in the wrong time. I was born in the wrong time period, and I see it as bad. I see everything in the present just inherently bad and evil, and I just don't like it. I don't really care about modern culture, and I just see it as corrupt and evil. So everything that's done in the name of humanism, secularism, and science is bad. Everything that's done in the name of science and progression is inherently bad, and it just makes things fundamentally worse. Everything about progression and about forwardness is bad, and everything about looking backward is actually looking forward. And so the inversion of that is actually the better thing to do. Those are my views, anyways, and that's just some of my idle chat about my thoughts. But yeah, Nick Fuentes is a cat boy, And all of these dudes are just, they're cat boys and furries and weebs, and they look to the wrong things, and they do all the sort of wrong things that is actually degrading of Western civilization, of Western culture, and of European societies and its offshoots in that wider European diaspora. So, any thoughts in the chat about that? Mr. I'm not going to say that name. Mr. M says, what if Grug entered the war? Grug would have just suffered a very horrible and tragic end. He wouldn't have even lived to see the horrible side effects of the war. It's just that simple. So, yeah, the true harbinger or the true spirit of the West is not to be found in the modern right or left. And the right and left dichotomy is just bullshit. Like, the Catholic Church was the real culture of Europe in the early modern world, and the Reformation destroyed and tore Europe out of its Christian roots. It was the beginning of secularism, which broke and destroyed and demoted Western society and corrupted it. The Enlightenment also further corrupted and dehumanized and degraded Western culture as well. And I think that we're still suffering from those tangible results. So, anyways, that was all I had to say.